With Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social pages that we're on these days, including facebook.com/Talk El Paso, at Talk El Paso on Twitter, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, and Twitch at Andrew J. Polk. We want to have those conversations in all the places that we can, because doing so is one of the better ways to make sure that, well, the conversation is actually happening for that part. With the fractionalization and the fracturing of audiences and viewpoints, and how so many companies out there only interested in showing you what you have by algorithms and such, like, absolutely a whole lot of get lost in the middle there. So that's part of what we're here to do, and what we're going to continue doing every Monday through Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I already have Leroy, Chuck, and Calvin Williams chiming in with us here today. John Hertz also chiming in as well, with a mild local conspiracy theory about the identities of some of our callers here. I mean, we're not vetting anyone here, but if these are the same person, that's some really good voice work, is all I'm going to say here. I mean, the point is that today is Friday. We have made it through the week. We got the weekend ahead of us here. So we are wrapping up the week with our Free-for-All Friday, which means we have those open lines going on throughout the show where you can call in, chime in. I mean, a lot of comments that go on with all this, but particularly if you're calling in, we do have those FCC standards that we are absolutely still having to deal with. I'm not paying that fee. I don't know what to tell you, but we'll take those calls. So, but on any subject, really what it comes down to, just keep it clean, and we'll get into it, because the pressure release valve for the week, a whole lot of stuff to absolutely start getting into and discussing, and that's what today is here for. So that number to call to do so is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. There's been a whole lot of stuff going on in, around, affecting, and prospectively affecting our region here. A couple of the top of things on my mind as we're heading into this weekend and looking forward already to next week, because that's what we do here, is that immigration change, the whole shift back to Migrant Protection Protocols, MPP, so-called Remain in Mexico policy coming back into full effect right here in our backyard, and including the backyard itself. Not just to say that it's over the wall, but this side as well, and the response to it expected back on Monday. We have that, well, for now, government shutdown averted. I say for now because we're still firmly in kick the can down the road kind of situations here. I believe February is the new countdown date. So it's not so much solution as it is a little bit more fuse has been added to the bomb that would be if it goes off without, that funny thing that's called effective governance that we used to have. Ugh, that's the whole show on its own. But then also been seeing a whole ton of those interviews in the aftermath of the whole Rush shooting involving Alec Baldwin. And I will admit, at first I had probably similar thoughts to you all about the whole line of I didn't pull the trigger. I can't tell you the amount of times I've seen, heard from people who had negligent discharges or NDs saying, oh, no, I never pulled the trigger. The gun just went off. But then actually having sat down and listened to it, makes a slight bit more of sense, but is not necessarily any less negligent. Anyone who has handled a firearm of that era, I've gotten the chance to myself, the old revolver 6-shooters, or more specifically the kinds that did not have the safety bar installed of it. You may have heard stories back from that, whole cowboy era about how they would leave an empty chamber so that the hammer wouldn't rest right on the primer. Kind of sounds like that may be what happened here. So there's still a whole lot of foul-ups here. But the whole narrative of seizing on the trigger not being pulled, that's one just been rent-free in my head since I sat down to actually look at what the heck was being talked about there yesterday. But we absolutely have a lot of stuff that we are going to be getting into here today. John Hurt saying, wish they hadn't passed the budgets. I mean, the government shutdowns are I understand some political utility to it, given the fact that we talk about a whole lot of services in our area, probably an adverse impact on the overall for our local region. But yeah, and saying further that he Alec Baldwin incriminated himself. Yeah, I don't get the point of giving interviews ahead of legal cases, to be perfectly honest. Doing it at all, if I was any legal authority and involved with this, I'd be saying, you're going to stay the hell away from any interview camera until this thing is settled. And I mean settled, like appeals are over. But that's just me. But again, get to those calls. The number to do so right now, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
This is Raul.
Hi there, Raul. What's on your mind?
Hey, Andrew. Well, I was hearing news reports about kids being afraid to go to school. How sad is that, huh? And parents not feeling that their kids are safe at school, not only because of the COVID, but because 2021 will go down as a year that the number of school shootings hit an all-time high, with Tuesday's shooting at the Oxford High School. That makes it the 222nd school shooting in 2021. You know, America will never be great when no one is safe anywhere, anytime, from nuts with guns, which are easily available to any nut. And all because of the NRA and the Republican Party, which are owned by the gun manufacturers and ammunition manufacturers. And then with this week, with the Mississippi State abortion law case argued in front of the Supreme Court, again, we hear Republicans talking about the sanctity of life as a reason abortion should be outlawed. Republicans are hypocrites. They oppose efforts to pass sensible gun regulations. They oppose vaccine and mask mandates to prevent others from being infected and possibly dying from the COVID. Some of them are already ready to shut down the government over vaccine and masking mandates. Anti-vaxxers and anti-maskers and gun purchasers, they just can't be inconvenienced for the safety and well-being of their fellow Americans. But, you know, on the bright side of something historical to look forward to, the House January 6th panel, which has interviewed 250 people so far, is planning weeks of public hearings next week to find out who and what did what about Trump's failed coup on the Constitution and Congress at the Capitol. Thank you very much.
Touching on a whole lot there. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't put much faith or credence really into the National Rifle Association. The National Shooting Sports Foundation, which is actually an industry-aligned foundation when it comes to those issues, one that I'm much more interested in what they are doing. At the very least, they don't have the same kind of issues programmatically and administratively that the NRA has had lately with the questions about what exactly they're doing with the dues and money that gets spent to them. It's why, frankly, I've never been a member of that particular organization, despite being very much a vowed gun owner myself here. And I got to say, further on, that the particular situation that happened in Oxford, we got other calls coming in on that as well a little bit later on, besides being an absolute travesty of what happened in the actual going on of it, whatever the legal situation going on with the parents involved in it, not going to lie, kind of furthers a theory that I've had in the back of my head for a minute now, that when you cast all of this in one thing, and this is not just as a, well, I'm a gun owner, I've never done anything bad, but more specifically, the reports coming out about that situation are that this particular firearm was bought in like the preceding days here. So this is a completely unscientific, completely anecdotal, and just in my mind, theory that I have that if you really want to look at some of the contributing factors to all of this and the situations that go into it, it's those spur of the moment, last minute. I mean, I'm sure there's diversity of situations out there. I've never felt a particular need that, you know, if I don't get a gun by Monday, I'm going to be in some serious trouble here. I mean, I've bought things, unnumbered and unnamed to be sure, in concerted ways over the years, but also none of those have ever been, A, thankfully fired in anger, B, at anything that wasn't a static paper or steel target. I'm probably lucky in that way, to be perfectly honest. But the point is that it's always this last minute purchases seem to be a seriously defining feature, if probably not all, but definitely most of all of these situations. So when you end up casting this wide blanket that everyone that has ever touched one of these evil weapons is as culpable here, that just falls flat on its face, just right off the bat here. So that's at least initial. I mean, again, there's a whole lot more going to that specific situation that we'll probably get into, because It is Friday here, so we are going to be taking those calls throughout the hour here. Due for that next break already. It flies by, so be sure to call in if you wanted to get on the show. That number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. A lot of comments, calls coming in. Get into all that after the break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Again, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We talk about a lot of diverse and divisive subjects on this show, and I got to stay sharp in talking about them. Last thing I'd want to do is be egregiously incorrect because of, well, mental befuddlement. Something that I do to cut through that and give me some clarity, plus the focus and energy to do all of this is Clever Tea, Klevrtea, as in the stuff that you drink, locally made by Clever Inc. It is a locally produced product, which is what originally got me interested in it. I'll try most things that are local once anyway, but to keep coming back for it, which I have definitely been doing, it's got to be good and quality and help me out. This has essentially replaced my more or less once an afternoon anyway energy drink or serious coffee habit here, because it leaves me focused and energized without having that jittery or slightly hovering above the ground kind of effect that I've gotten from other unnamed products here. Not casting dispersion, just talking about the good that this stuff does to me. Their Oolong Wise blend, which is a delicious blend of oolong tea, coconut, pineapple, hibiscus, eucalyptus, hawthorn berry, and cinnamon. I just got my latest delivery of their pre-made in the bottles here, which I like the most because it's sweetened with just the right amount of monk fruit. You can find it for yourself by going online to clevertea.com. You can also find them out in the community because they go out to various events around here, particularly this weekend. On Saturday, they'll be at 11 to 4 at the Ranch on Vinton Road. Then on Sunday, two places in the early afternoon at the Upper Valley Arts and Farmers Market, and then at in the later afternoon until 5 at the Cielo Vista Market. Find out all what they're doing online or on their social media, and be sure to place your own order. Get in boxes and bottles, clevertea.com. That's KLEVRTEA.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Got some heavy stop-and-go traffic on Zaragoza between Alameda and Gateway. Due to a crash just south of Escobar, stop-and-go traffic in that area is going to set you back. 54 Patriot Freeway northbound north of Sun Valley Drive. All lanes open from that earlier accident. Off to the left shoulder, the backup is to Trans Mountain. 375 Loop at Bob Hope. All lanes open there, but the backup is going to last about 20 minutes. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Audible. Audible is the best place to listen for everything you're into, from comedy and motivation to popular podcasts and best-selling audiobooks. Right now, take advantage of a special holiday offer and save 60% on your first 3 months. Learn more and sign up at audible.com.
If you love trivia, if you love the hugely popular Stuff You Should Know podcast, then the Trivial Pursuit game, Stuff You Should Know edition, is for you. With 600 questions, weird and unbelievable trivia in categories like myths, legends, and conspiracies. SYSK selects a mix of topics handpicked by podcast hosts Josh and Chuck. Give the gift of trivia this holiday. Find Trivial Pursuit, the Stuff You Should Know edition at your favorite retailer or wherever you shop for board games.
We've lost so many people to COVID. So many moms and dads, favorite uncles, older sisters, and best friends. But vaccines can help prevent serious illness and death from COVID in more than 9 out of 10 cases. So now almost all COVID deaths are preventable, and so are the broken hearts they leave behind. We can do this. Find COVID vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. That's vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
This is high blood pressure. Get back on your plan. Go to loweryourhbp.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Already off at a quick gallop here today for Free for All Friday with those open lines throughout the show. So, a lot of ways to interact during this. We will be taking those comments and calls throughout the hour. One segment down, 3 to go here, and we've got a ton of comments going on the social media pages. The phone number, lines full up at the moment if you want to try a little bit later. That number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Stepping into the comments here, a lot of people already chiming in. I lost track of it pretty quickly on. We have Calvin Williams, Leroy Chuck, John Hertz chiming in a little bit earlier. John Brazelton as well. Commenting on things like the debt ceiling that was part of that budget deal here. And a whole lot of commentary about all of these issues. Louis Pinato, Raul's chiming in as well. So we have a lot of interesting. Edgar Ortiz also chiming in. Thank you for doing so. However you may be doing so, again, we got Facebook pages, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, the phone line, the app, of course, terrestrial radio. I talk about a lot of the other methods because they're a bit more active, but anyone listening through, your radio in your car or however you may be doing it, you are more than welcome here. And again, kind of a, invitation to call in, at least when the phone lines are open on this particular day here. So jumping right back in there right now, we do have Andrew on the west side on the line here with us. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to comment about Alec Baldwin and that guns just don't go off, okay?
Right.
Somebody has to pull the trigger. Now, that particular weapon that he was using, in order for that weapon to discharge, you have to pull the hammer completely back. That's a single action army, what they called it. Okay, now California law requires all weapons to have a hammer safety block. That is, if the gun drops accidentally, it could discharge a round. And I guarantee you those guns probably had to have that. But like I was saying, in order for that gun to discharge, and if it's in your hand, you have to pull that hammer completely back and then pull the trigger. Number two, with reference to what Raul was saying, we Republicans are not responsible for all the ills of the world. Okay, parents need to be held accountable. That gun should have been locked up. Okay. And yes, I think the parents should be charged, if anything, with criminally negligent homicide because they were negligent in letting someone have access to that weapon. Okay, so anyway, that's my 2 cents for the day. Oh, by the way, yeah, Raul, I'll debate you any day, guy. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Those are interesting points to make there. So to my understanding, going back to your first point there about the whole Alec Baldwin situation, is that was specifically a historic firearm that was being used. So, given that most production seems like, this was being done in New Mexico here, so no guarantee that it was being stored in California stores. There have been a whole lot of stories going around on this that I'm going to be very interested to see some of the actual investigation going into it. I think was mentioned on the top of the hour, or other reports I've heard today, that there's searches being done into the actual facilities where it may have been used or stored ahead of time. There was one story going around a couple weeks ago, I think, that it may have actually been used, taken out for a little bit of range time by someone ahead of the actual, ended up being the shoot that happened, and that may not have been rendered totally safe. So, yeah, still an interview I wouldn't have done, but you are overall correct that there are, for at least modern firearms, safety is supposed to be in place so that you don't see the real-life recreation of that one scene from, I think it was the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie from the 90s, True Lies, or early 2000s, where there's this MAC-10 looking machine gun that's falling down the stairs and takes out half a room of terrorists at the time because it just kept falling just perfectly right. Unrealistic to the extreme, but even more so that if that were to happen with a firearm, at least one modernly manufactured, the lawsuits would never end if that kind of thing were possible. So my understanding is that the way he was talking about it in the clips that I heard and what I saw from the interview, that he had pulled back the hammer slightly and then released it so that there was a live round there and there wasn't that kind of safety bar like you were talking about, could have directly struck the primer, and just a whole lot of stupidity leading up to that point. Not even gonna lie here. But again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM, to call into the show here today. Whole lot of stuff we're talking about, and we will continue doing that throughout the show here. We do have on the line right now John in the Far East with us. John, thanks for joining us.
Hey there, Andrew.
Hey there. What's on your mind?
Well, my wife and I just recently took a firearm safety course at El Paso Community College.
Oh, okay.
And that's the first absolute thing that they tell you is examine the weapon that's being passed to you. You've got to unchamber any rounds that might be in there. And then you never, ever, ever point it anywhere but downrange and not at a person. I mean, that's the stupidest thing that I have ever heard come out of Alec Baldwin's mouth, was that, he would never point it at anybody. Good God, how many movies has he made where he's handled weapons before? That's, it goes without saying that he's screwed up and he's trying to cover up.
Again, giving the interview was just if I was his lawyer, I would have been saying, no, you're not going anywhere near that camera doing this interview, but there must be some kind of strategy going there. I was always raised to adhere to the 4 very simple rules of firearm safety. Treat every gun as if it was loaded, with the caveat that I've learned since of unless you have inspected it yourself, which clearly didn't happen here, and then never pointed at anything you're not willing to destroy. Keep your finger off the trigger until ready to fire and know what your target is and what sits beyond it. Those were the very, very simple rules that could have avoided any step of these, frankly, being implemented would have avoided this whole situation. I mean, at a certain point, a movie, you got certain shots you want to make, but there's a great video out there, actually, of Will Smith, having been involved in a lot of gun movies himself, I think it was for the set of one of the, probably one of the, DC movies that he's been in. And it says someone picking up a gun, like supposedly a prop gun, maybe a real one, and kind of like pointing it around, kind of like inspecting it, and he slaps it down and then checks it, unloads it, and then hands it back to the guy once he's ensured it's safe here. And I would love to see more of that mentality displayed, because there's a whole lot of cavalier attitudes that happen with this whole subject that it irks me. If I'm in a movie theater, I'm not shouting anything at the screen, but if I'm at home, my wife can't stand me when I'm saying, oh no, they're doing that wrong with the gun. Oh my God, what the hell is that sight on backwards? Like I'm insufferable when it comes to that in movies. I'll perfectly admit. So well, thank you for those points there. I mean, it's basic stuff that I think a lot more people should know, which is when I use the phrase responsibly armed Americans, that's baked into it, at least the way I think of it. So thank you for the points in the call there. Do appreciate it.
You bet.
You have a great day. Coming up in the need for a break here right now. We'll definitely keep going into these issues here. And again, if you want to call in during the show, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Checking with a couple of comments here before we go here. There's some interesting comments going on there. Big Kev Williams saying that everyone knows gun safety. You'd be surprised how many people don't. I mean, even friends I've taken out and, trying to help transform into responsibly armed Americans. Not totally knowing. Again, it's surprising how many people don't know those basic 4. I've seen them condensed down to 3. I like the 4 because of the detailed nature that it puts into each step of it here, but also saying that you should lawyer up and shut up because doing nothing but telling lies here. I'm not even necessarily saying that he is intentionally lying here, but I don't think he understands the implications. I mean, all the stuff I saw reported about it, saying that, I didn't pull the trigger, as if that's some saving grace here. If you're manipulating the firearm in a way that causes a negligent discharge, it's always the person holding the gun at that point in time. Sure, there may have been other people that had responsibilities before that point, but once it's in your hand, if it's anything besides like a solid plastic prop gun, you have responsibilities in my mind, which is why absolutely would have not done this interview. Good Lord. All right, due for a break here right now. Coming back from the break, into more of the comments and calls on the line. Again, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Comments on the Facebook and YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all of those after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690, KTSM. Don't forget to tune in to the Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao, airing this Saturday at noon right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. He helps you take control of your health and stay on top of the latest medical innovations by giving you healthcare hacks, latest details, and what the procedures you need to know about, particularly the minimally invasive ones, to help for treatments for common medical problems. This week, talking about things such as the latest news on, COVID and vaccine and pill developments, all of that stuff from his perspective as a board-certified vascular interventionalist, as well as some things about other issues we talk about, including thermography and the things that it can help with or even help detect. So, all of this kind of stuff coming up here this Saturday at noon. Submit your own questions ahead of future programs by emailing rao@medicalhackers.com. That's his last name, RAO, @medicalhackers.com. And be sure to tune in this Saturday at noon, right after the El Paso History Radio Show, to the Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with a Fox 13 News Update. Officials with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office confirmed yesterday that the suspect who led law enforcement on a pursuit on I-10 after a shooting in Socorro has died. Deputies identify him now as 27-year-old Aaron Salazar. A massive police pursuit ended in gunfire along I-10 in far east El Paso on Wednesday. After a domestic dispute, Salazar, who was armed with a handgun, reportedly fled the home in a vehicle and led police on a high-speed pursuit along Socorro Road towards Sanelli. And musician Khalid dropped his new EP on Friday, which is titled after a popular lookout spot in El Paso. Scenic Drive the Tape features 9 R&B soul tracks. The artist, who calls El Paso his home, got the inspiration for the EP and its artwork from Scenic Drive. The road takes drivers up into the Franklin Mountains and offers views of both the city of El Paso and neighboring Juarez. I'm Erica Castillo with this Fox 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
It's slow on the Zaragoza Road northbound between Alameda and the 10 due to a crash just south of Escobar Drive from earlier. 375 Loop at Bob Hope cleared and all lanes are open, but the backup is to North Loop. 54 Patriot north of Sun Valley Drive, accident off to the shoulder there, but still a backup. And I-10 eastbound at Trans Mountain, look for a minor backup there. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. After an unseasonably warm Friday, tonight should be nice and cool and dry. As we get into the weekend, we will get some slightly cooler air moving in, but you probably won't notice much of it. In fact, it may even drop temperatures about 5 degrees. It's really not until next week that we get our next weather maker that increases winds and possibly brings a chance for some rain.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's Breakfast Biscuit Sandwich. Just $1. Wendy's knows a better breakfast starts with a better biscuit. That's why you can get a hot and buttery Wendy's breakfast biscuit with bacon or sausage, fresh cracked egg, and cheese for just $1. Get your Wendy's Buck Biscuit Sandwich today. Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Mass Mutual knows college planning can be an uncomfortable conversation.
Grandma, I hope you're around forever.
That's so sweet.
So you'll take care of me forever?
Of course I will, dear.
That includes paying for college, right?
Private or in-state?
Private.
Honey, I've got 10 grandkids.
But am I not your favorite?
Do you still have that other grandma?
Talk to us about college planning today. Feel comfortable about tomorrow. Mass Mutual. Live Mutual.
Talk El Paso, airing weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, focused on local businesses, local politics, local impacts of the day's news. Brought to you in part by Thrive 915 Food Fest. Join the conversation Monday through Friday at 4, and let's talk El Paso.
Audible is the best place to listen for everything you're into, from comedy and motivation to popular podcasts and best-selling audiobooks. Right now, take advantage of a special holiday offer and save 60% on your first 3 months. Learn more and sign up at audible.com. This report is sponsored by Audible.
If you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my friends.
For my community.
For everyone here. We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies us. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
There won't be much substance on your news feed until you add us. Just like us or click on the link at kcsmradio.com. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Whatever you're doing to go about your day, you want to always keep in mind the contingency plans. What you're going to do if things don't go according to plan, where the nearest gas station is, where the kids should meet up if they're not able to get home from school correctly, or what to do if you have those day disruptors, those things that leave you wondering what to do, those minor medical emergencies that just kind of upend your plans. and you need to know what to do with them. So know where to go by going where I trust for those kind of situations, which is Upper Valley Urgent Care Center, 121 East Red Road. They're available 7 days a week for you, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So they're there and available on your schedule. Dr. Carpenter and his team with their 20 exam rooms, fast and friendly, 5-star medical treatment, everything from those aches, scrapes, breaks, bruises, sniffles, testing, vaccination needs, all the way up to x-ray capabilities. They're open again 7 days a week with also being a VA authorized urgent care provider. So they're ready for you, whatever the need is. 121 East Red Road, Upper Valley Urgent Care Center.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A bunch of stuff we're talking about here today, and a lot of ways you can tune in, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social pages that we're on. We have a lot of people chiming in right now, including Edgar Ortiz, Calvin Williams, Leroy Chuck, Louis Pinato, and a whole lot more. Amaya a little bit earlier, John Browse a bit earlier than that, John Hertz. I mean, that's where the Skeptic Squad lives, over on the Facebook page, particularly facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Whole lot of subjects, whole lot of discussion happens there throughout. So if you want to wade into that, 414 on. But we'll take a variety of different ways for the comments here today, because that's what we're doing the whole show for Free For All Friday with open lines and comments throughout the program here. To thank one of our sponsors here, Talk El Paso, brought to you in part by Monterey Asset Management. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, consider investing in real estate. Monterey manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. See their new website, m1ep.com. That's m1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate, call Certified Property Manager Ray at 915-592-4549. That's 915-592-4549. Thank you to our sponsors. Please support them as they support us in our mission to continue having live local talk radio here in the borderland. So, getting into more of those comments and calls here, just touching on some of the major subjects we've been talking about today, that continuing budget resolution that, just kind of kicks the can down the road here. Some interesting perspective coming in on that. Leroy Chuck saying that when they passed this CR bill, this extended the previous administration, Trump's budget from last year. Going to hope they keep passing CR bills for the next 3 years. Interesting perspective there. Edgar Ortiz saying that when he worked for the government during all the Obama years, the administration never passed a new budget. There was always a continuing resolution here. Interesting to know what department that is. Well, without getting too much into it from your perspective here. But, a lot of stuff being discussed here. If you want to add your 2 cents, a couple ways to do that, leaving your comments or by calling in. Lines full at the moment, but that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Kevin Williams saying that this is an El Paso chat room. I mean, we get people that call in from across the area and include at least one that's out of our area right now, but base that we'll get to here in just a minute. But we will have the discussion here. So coming up right now, we do have Jerry in Northwest. Jerry, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Andrew, for taking my call.
Raul,
I can show you in the Constitution Bill of Rights, the Second Amendment that guarantees people the right to keep and bear arms. Can you show me in the Constitution or anywhere in the Bill of Rights where somebody has a right to murder their own baby, or they call it abortion, abort the baby? Can you do that? I don't think so. In fact, I'll give you $1,000 where you can find them words, abortion or murder of your baby, in the Constitution. Thank you.
Sure thing. Then I do appreciate the comments and the call there. I mean, we deal with a lot of heavy subjects here, but this is the sounding board while we are taking those calls throughout the hour here. I mean, those are some serious topics, very much in the mindset right now, both coming out of that recent school shooting there and whatever the heck is the legal situation going on involving the parents there. Just the real kerfuffle is the way I'm going to choose to put that at the moment here. But also, of course, with that Supreme Court hearing going on with still looking, I mean, that's the Mississippi case, if I'm not mistaken. I'm still very much looking for the resolution from the Texas case, frankly, if only because of the implications that the Texas's novel legal procedure went about it is, could have even a lot more further, I mean, with all the talk being talked about, the implications coming out of the decision, whatever it's going to be for the case that was just heard, that one, in my mind, may have even further reaching ones just because of that mechanism. we'll see what happens of it. It's all a lot of talk until it actually happens. So kind of waiting to see when exactly that decision will come out. But speaking about people from outside the areas we're mentioning right now, we do have Alan on the road right now, calling in safely, I do hope. So thanks for joining us, Alan.
Andrew, how you doing today?
Doing all right. What's on your mind?
All right. Well, first, number one, to Raul, for him to grow a pair. Number two, he's probably the first person that'll be called the cops. Yeah, we need the police, but yet let's defund them. Simple as that. Being that we live in El Paso, like I said, we have a military base. Fort Bliss there. God bless our soldiers and everything. And my hat's off to them. Thank you for what they do. Number two, as of guns, anything can be used as a weapon. How funny that you don't hear the news about what's happening in Wisconsin. You hear about a vehicle running over 6 people, killing 6 people. That wasn't a gun. That was a vehicle. So, and yet the news there doesn't cover that. If you don't listen to the conservative news, you won't even hear about that guy that ended up killing all those innocent people. And another thing, I just wanted to just make point that about abortion. Number one thing, abortion. Being that not everyone's Catholic, me being Catholic to begin with, you can't be Catholic and be pro-abortion. Simple as that. So that's for everybody there in El Paso, that they might think about it twice. You can't be a Catholic and be pro-abortion. That's all I got to say.
No, fair enough. Thanks for those points and that call there. Do appreciate you listening and chiming in from wherever you may be at this point here. I mean, I've seen that criticism about the whole, Wisconsin situation, that it's fallen out of the news cycle here and moving on to other things. I mean, I think there was a certain point also concerned that this all might obfuscate part of that other major ongoing trial, not pronouncing it right, apparently not, Ghislaine Maxwell. It's the way I thought it was pronounced, apparently Ghislaine or Ghislaine. Anyway, the Maxwell trial associated with all that very much nastiness and stuff coming out there. I'm glad there's some focus on it, but also dropping off of that one was a little weird, I will agree, not focusing on the whole running over of people at the Christmas fair. Coming as it did on the heels of our own Christmas fair, I mean, that hit me a little bit personally. I'm not going to lie here. I mean, having thought about that having happened in whatever circumstance right in our area, that's almost too much to bear to think about. So it's still very much in my mind. Absolutely here. So thank you for those points and that call here. Got a couple more calls on the line. We do have Jerome in the Northeast right now. Jerome, thanks for joining us.
Andrew J., good afternoon.
Afternoon. What's on your mind, Jerome? Oh, shoot, you know what? I think we apparently lost Jerome there. Apologies, Jerome, if you're still out there on the line with us. Try calling back. Apparently I missed a button there. That was my fault, so I do apologize here. But in the meantime, we'll probably get you on next segment here. Meantime, okay, we'll take one more call here. This segment here, you're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
Nate.
Hey there, Nate. What's on your mind?
All right, great, Andrew. What a blessed day that we're having. And I just want to first of all thank God for you in the program and all that you continue to do for our great community of El Paso. And just want to remind everybody to be encouraged and to be grateful. Not just one day of the year, but for 24/7, 365. We live in a great country, and it's not going to be any better than what we make it, as individuals. And let's just continue to focus on that. But I just want to just thank you.
No, well, thank you very much for that point. There was any other point that you want to make here today?
Other than just the fact that, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that for now to give someone else time. But thank you to Andrews. I'll call him another time.
Oh, no, fair enough here. I mean, I do appreciate gratitude as much as the next guy, but today is the day that we do have it open to bring up all those issues, so we'll get to more of those calls on the line here. Due for a break right now, so Jerome, if you're still out there, I do apologize. We'll get that back up here right now if you call in. That number to do so is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Promise not to slip any more fingers here. But, mistakes happen. It's live radio, but we'll keep doing it here 4 to 5 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Back after this break with more. Don't go anywhere. See you in a minute. Mentioned it a bit earlier, but that tool that is once again here in the borderland, that of thermography, essentially a heat map for your body that can help detect certain conditions, including very serious ones, before necessarily other methods can. Now, it's always important to talk with your doctor about all these things, but another tool in your arsenal is thermography. So you can visit Therapeutics and Thermography Inc. at 935 Sunland Park Drive, where they are offering this technique once again here in town inside Biometrics, there with the big blue sign, and they will get you hooked up. They're continuing that $50 off breast thermogram benefit through the end of the year. I mean, breast cancer is not something to mess around with, and if you really want to make sure, particularly if you're doing it over time, can help beat comparisons, but just get the intro of it and figure it out and find out how it works for you. That $50 off credit is available through the end of the year. You just got to give them a call at 915-401-4053. That's 915-401-4053, or visit them online at elpasothermography.com. That's El Paso, THERMOGRAPHY.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Here's your Friday afternoon El Paso traffic. You can expect some heavy delays on the 10 westbound from Wrestler to Thorne. That earlier accident on Zaragoza is still slowing traffic just south of the 10 Gateway Boulevard. About a 10-minute delay there. And I-10 eastbound at Trans Mountain. That earlier accident has cleared, but there's still a minor backup to Zaragoza. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's Breakfast Biscuit Sandwich. Just $1. Wendy's knows a better breakfast starts with a better biscuit. That's why you can get a hot and buttery Wendy's breakfast biscuit with bacon or sausage, fresh cracked egg, and cheese for just $1. Get your Wendy's Buck Biscuit Sandwich today. Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's.
We've lost so many people to COVID. So many moms and dads, favorite uncles, older sisters, and best friends. But vaccines can help prevent serious illness and death from COVID in more than 9 out of 10 cases. So now almost all COVID deaths are preventable, and so are the broken hearts they leave behind. We can do this. Find COVID vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. That's vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Looking for something to do this weekend that's fun, interesting, and free? Come to the El Paso Mineral, Gem, and Jewelry Show at the Elmida Shrine Auditorium. See fossils, rocks, crystals, and gems of all kinds. Shop beautifully crafted jewelry and more. There's something for everyone to enjoy, so bring the whole family. Hours are 10 till 6 Friday and Saturday, 10 till 5 on Sunday, and parking is free. Brought to you by the El Paso Mineral and Gem Society. For more information, visit epmgs.com.
I'm Larry Gelwicks, the Getaway Guru. Join me on The Travel Show every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. We talk all things travel, favorite places, how to travel more and pay less, secret hideaways, discount airline tickets and cruises, and the best travel deals on the planet. It's The Travel Show every Sunday evening, 7 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. And I'll tell you where to go and how to get there.
Audible is the best place to listen for everything you're into, from comedy and motivation to popular podcasts and best-selling audiobooks. Right now, take advantage of a special holiday offer and save 60% on your first 3 months. Learn more and sign up at audible.com.
Monterey Asset Management, superior multifamily property management services citywide.
Children who grow up in poverty are part of a destructive cycle. At Child Fund International, we find this unacceptable. In 25 countries, we are vigorously fighting poverty and improving the lives of children and their families. Learn more at childfund.org.
The most current and comprehensive. Just minutes away at the top and bottom of the hour, and always online at KTSMradio.com. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. It is that day of the week when we take calls throughout the hour, so coming up on the end of it here, so we'll squeeze in what we can. That number to call if you want to try to get on, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. But don't forget, we'll be doing this, next week as well. We've got a whole lot more topics coming up for you, including more focus on the immigration issues, study out by local nonprofit and advocacy groups that go into these issues, about why exactly are things showing up at our section of the border. Of course, going to have to get into more of the issues, including, what's going on with the whole intersection of Title 42 and the MPP, so-called Remain in Mexico policy. A whole lot of stuff affecting us right, and I mean right in this area. So that's some of the stuff planned, amongst other things. So into those calls right now. Again, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. You can do have those pound 250 calls as well. Don't forget about that. You can leave those for us after the show, ahead of the next one, by dialing pound 250, saying the keyword Talk El Paso. When prompted, leave a message such as this.
This is Basia Frankie. I gotta tell you, talk about the ultimate in the meaning of karma. Now, these parents of this kid that went and shot these other kids, they're right now on the lam. They found out they're going to be charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter because of their stupid ignorance and how to control their son. Plus, that's their love of that stupid gun. And that wife of his sent to Donnie Dotard a letter of appreciation that she was allowed to go carry, that she could have a gun. I wonder what she's thinking now about how wonderful it is for her to be able to carry a gun. I'll tell you, conservative kooks are just off the wall nutso. Unbelievable.
I will say on that, and again, you can leave your own comment, pound 250, keyword Talk El Paso, after the show here. There's a lot of messed up stuff that happened in the lead up to this, but the lawyer for the parents says that, well, they're not on the run. They have removed themselves from their home due to safety concerns, but they will present themselves, which, not going to lie, kind of sounds the thing that I would tell my lawyer to say if I was skipping town, but we'll see how that whole situation progresses here. Wouldn't recommend it in that case for them anyway here. All right, getting to more of the calls here. We do have Jerome in Northeast right now with us. Jerome, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Thanks for giving me a second bite at the apple.
Thank you for dialing back in. Appreciate it. What's on your mind?
Hey, look, just to revisit the topic that I talked about one time before, maybe sitting across the table from a couple of people doing the show live, had Raul sit across the table from some of these guys, so I always got him in the crosshairs. I still think that'd be a good idea. I hope you can still consider that. That's one. Two, I like your 4 golden rules about gun safety. My concern is we have constitutional carry in the state of Texas, and people are not going to be abiding by those 4 golden rules that you have. And I think it's just going to be a matter of time before we have some similar situations across the Lone Star State. I want to throw out some props to that caller who said he and his wife had gone to the El Paso Community College gun safety class. Just wish and encourage other people who may plan to get a weapon to do and take those very steps that he talked about and adhere to your 4 golden rules.
Oh, absolutely.
And the guy said something about abortion, and I'm saying back to those persons, you're going to black market this thing, drive it underground, and we need to consider the byproducts of what's going to happen if that happens. That's my 4 cents worth. I'll back out and give you the mic back. See you later. Thanks for the minute.
No, sure thing. Thank you again for calling back after my fat finger screw up there. I do apologize and appreciate you calling back here. A lot of important issues, and that's why I very carefully say the phrase in favor of more responsibly armed Americans. And responsible is the most important factor of that whole phrase in my mind anyway, because, to add another rule onto those 4 golden rules for particularly people who think constitutional carry means they can carry and do whatever they want, a gun is not anything, and I mean anything, extra enforceable in law. Your presence of having it gives you no extra rights or abilities besides being able to have it. So if you think that you're going to go out and be Rambo, you're going to have just the worst day of your life based on that attitude here. I mean, your ability and problem-solving abilities should not be changing based on the presence of that here. And a whole lot of other issues you're bringing up there that's, we only got so much time here at this show. We'll try to get to a couple more calls, but do appreciate it. Situation normal, all fouled up, being brought up in the comments there, which is a little bit interesting. A good way to put it here. We got Johnny on the Far East Side right now. Johnny, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you, Andrew, for taking my call. I appreciate it. I've been hearing a lot about the school shootings and all that. And I remember I grew up in the 80s and graduated in 91. And I grew up in a little small town in Arkansas. every truck in our school had a gun in it. And we didn't have one school shooting in all the years of when I went to school and previous years before I went to school and all that. I think a lot of it has to do with people growing up scared of weapons, or there's got to be a fundamental problem with the people that's actually going there shooting kids, whether it's bullying in school or something. There's got to be a reason why that's what they're turning to. I think a lot of it has to do with the media itself glorifying these people that's going to the school shootings, because it's only the kids that are shooting kids, or angry people that's going in shooting kids, but they don't talk about the security officers who actually stop school shootings. It's only the ones that actually go in there and do the school shootings. That's the first issue. The second one is the border crisis. I'm all for anybody coming over here to making a better life for themselves. If I was in their situation, I'd probably do the same thing. But you got to do it legally. There's no other country in the world that will let you go in there. And even some countries, you get shot on. You get shot on right on sight. Look at North Korea, Syria, Saudi Arabia. If you go in there illegally, you get hanged. You get executed. There's no trial. And then what I don't understand is how, when they get separated at the border, the Democrats want to give these people $450,000 because they got separated. Where we got homelessness, veterans, that's on the street. So I don't understand that. So that's what I just wanted to mention.
No, those are all important issues. Thank you for that. Particularly on that last one there, I think that the outcry about that, to my understanding, that was a proposed part of a settlement coming from a court case here. So I'm not saying that there weren't certain individuals in elected office that would have been ecstatic about that idea, but to a larger extent, frankly, the outcry, I think, worked on that, because the administration and the statements made, the last I heard about it anyway, was saying, no, we're not going to be doing that, and to suggest that is ridiculous, which I will take as a positive statement here. So thank you for the points and that call there. You know what? I think we're going to have to leave it there for today. So anyone who did end up trying to call in right now but wasn't able to, do appreciate you taking the time, but we'll have to leave it there for today because we are out of time here for this program. So we'll do it again Monday through Friday, 4 to 5 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, calling, commenting, however you did it. Don't forget the pound 250 line. If you desperately get those comments in, we'll get them next week. So see you then. Look west for motorcycles. When out on the road, always have a great evening. See you all next week. Time for another Medicare Moment with Eric with Advocate Health Advisors. Can veterans enroll anytime throughout the year to get into these options we've talked about?
Under certain circumstances, yes, they can. A veteran may change their Medicare plan anytime throughout the year. This may also apply to a veteran's spouse. What we do is we receive many hours of training on exactly how to use the special enrollment period to make this available to veterans and their spouses if available.
So for more info on those details and much more, call Eric, your local advisor, wherever you're hearing this broadcast at 1-800-876-0214. That's 1-800-876-0214.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Here's your Friday afternoon El Paso traffic. You can expect some heavy delays on the 10 westbound from Wrestler to Thorne. That earlier accident on Zaragoza is still slowing traffic just south of the 10 Gateway Boulevard. About a 10-minute delay there. And I-10 eastbound at Trans Mountain. That earlier accident has cleared, but there's still a minor backup to Zaragoza. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Freedom of speech lives here.
To me, freedom of speech is being able to say anything you want.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I can't believe he found them.
He seems sorry.
We very clearly told him not to look up there.
I'm honestly impressed that he was able to do it.
Right? But did he balance on that big chair?
Yeah, I mean, I guess he'll just know what his gifts are this year.
I really thought we had hidden them well.
If they can find their presents, they can find a gun.
911, what is your emergency?
Every day, 8 kids and teens are unintentionally killed or injured by loaded and unlocked guns. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and End Family Fire.
Being aware of the world around you is important.
When it comes to news, yes, I am.
So we're feeding your need to know 24/7 at the top and bottom of the hour.
I like to know what's going on in my locality, abroad.
Events of the world.
Fairly so. Yeah, I'm pretty connected.
Or down the street.
For the most part, I know what's going on.
You know, I need to be aware and what to look out for, and I'm real cautious, so yeah, I need to have that.
It's what we do. News Radio 690 KTSM. News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. A Michigan sheriff says he did not know charges were going to be filed against the parents of the school shooting suspect. Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard said if they knew there was a high likelihood of charges, they would have kept a better eye on James and Jennifer Crumley. The parents of Ethan Crumley are charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter each. The White House is cheering the drop in unemployment. Press Secretary Jen Psaki discussed the historic drop in the nation's unemployment rate at the White House.
This morning, we learned the unemployment rate is 4.2%, down by a historic 2 full percentage points since President Biden took office.
That came with news of 210,000 jobs being created last month, far below expectations. The report put an end to a wild week on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 59 points to 34,580. San Jose's Democratic mayor disagrees with the White House claim that the COVID-19 pandemic is the cause of a spike in crime. Mayor Sam Liccardo said that instead the rise is simply the nature of criminal enforcement. He added he thinks criminals are at the root of smash and grab crimes. An attorney who worked with former President Trump in connection with last year's election isn't planning to talk to House investigators.
John Eastman was issued a subpoena by the House committee probing January's attack at the U.S. Capitol. However, Eastman's attorney wrote a letter to the panel saying his client is asserting his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. Charles Burnham insisted Eastman is afraid any statements he gives to the committee will be used to pursue a criminal case. Eastman wrote a memo outlining ways then Vice President Mike Pence could reject Joe Biden's election victory. I'm Lisa Taylor.
Yes, it's possible to have a blizzard warning in Hawaii. The National Weather Service says higher elevations on the Big Island are expected to get hit with a snowstorm on Saturday. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. The pandemic continues to take a toll on Americans' mental health nearly 2 years after it began. Rory O'Neill reports.
The mental health of Americans continues to suffer because of COVID. A new Gallup survey finds the number of Americans who rate their mental fitness as excellent remains at 34%, a 21-year low. Before the pandemic, emotional well-being regularly topped 42%, even higher. Now, 47% say their mental health is good, 15% said only fair, and 4% of Americans now say their mental health is poor. I'm Rory O'Neill.
North Carolina no longer has the youngest minimum age of juvenile jurisdiction. This comes as the new law signed by Governor Roy Cooper in August took effect on Thursday. It raises the minimum age from 6 to 10 years old. It means that instead of going to court for things like stealing or vandalism, alternatives will be used if these crimes are committed by younger children. New Jersey residents have until Monday to apply for federal aid for Hurricane Ida damage. Liz Warner reports.
FEMA assistance for those affected by the remnants of Hurricane Ida may be available for residents in Bergen, Essex, Gloucester, Hudson, Hunterdon, Mercer, Middlesex, Morris, Passaic, Somerset, Union, and Warren counties. That's according to NJ.com. The federal agency is